Guys, did you ever watch Justice League growing up with Wonder Woman? And she would get into her cartoon imaginary airplane that was invisible, yet you could still see it? Well, I have something that's the culinary version. Something that you can still see, yet it's misnamed invisible. We're going to be making an invisible cake. That's all I can say. But maybe you can see it, maybe you won't. And we're going to be screwing around with something new at the top of the show. We're going to be doing some other stuff, and I don't even know. But we've been working on this idea, and you guys are going to be our guinea pigs. And then we're going to do an Ask Dave about seasoning. And I have made a this thing, which is something you can or cannot see.
Oh, where is it?
A tart tatin and a pork dish that has already been consumed by everybody. Welcome to the Dave Chang Show, part of the Rare Podcast Network, presented by Major Dough Media, and we're going to have to learn how to re-say all of this shit when we're on Netflix. Mm-hmm. Welcome to the Dinner Time Live? No. Sure. We're going to play a game quickly, and then we're going to get Chris out of here. I'm a little upset because during the pandemic, Chris and I have made a bunch of shows. We made Secret Chef that, upon retrospection, maybe it was a little too complicated.
What do you think? It was a talking hat.
Every time we now work on an idea, we're always like, let's bookmark what we think is the dumbest idea, and let's make a bet that that's going to be the one that actually goes furthest. Mm-hmm. And we had an idea for a show early on where it was a skills competition, but it was not skills that you would see in any culinary competition show. It was, it would be like Larry David made a cooking show. This is what it would be. Just the dumbest shit. And now we see that there are people that are doing this online. Of course, Germany has a version of it, but nobody's done it quite like the way we wanted to do it. And we're now going to populate this podcast with a lot of half-baked ideas. So we're going to take the half-baked idea from Bill Simmons, and we're going to literally call this segment half-baked until it's fully baked. Mm-hmm. And one of the things we've wanted to do was, if you've been listening to the show a long time, there's 2 movie references we talk about a lot. Mostly it's Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade. Occasionally, like 10% of the time, it's Indiana Jones and
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. Especially the first scene where he's got the golden monkey head and he's trying to weigh. It's not 6 or 7. This is original 6 or 7. And he's like, maybe a little bit more sand.
Yeah. And basically we're like, that would be a good show by itself.
Yeah.
Just that.
Literally. Because as you might know, I don't like measuring anything unless I absolutely have to. Mm-hmm. And at the beginning of the pandemic, it all started because I made a vow, you heard it, I'm not going to measure a fucking thing when it comes to bread. If my bread's going to be goddamn terrible, it's not because I tried to make a bad sourdough loaf, it was just bad. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because there's no measurements. But after thousands of loaves of bad bread, of thousands of loaves of just eyeing shit, I think I've reached a higher level. Mm-hmm. So on this half-baked idea, we're now going to measure this setup. Let's tear it out. It's a digital scale. We're going to do it in ounces because I don't want to go back and set it to a metric system, so don't say we're hypocrites. For those that are listening, right now we're going to do a segment that we've long wanted to do, and we're now measuring who can best, inspired by Raiders of the Lost Ark, get to 8 ounces of flour, the closest. And right now, I have what I think is a good amount of flour. We're using a Thermomix on the scale setting. Right. Tearing it out.
Show them our 2 measurements. This is what you've got. This is what I've got. You want to go first or second?
I'll go first. I don't frame from you. All right, here we go.
Oh, shit. I think I have less. So Dave got 4.9 ounces. 4.9 with a target of 8.
Tear that out again.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
Christopher is up.
Oh, shit.
Oh!
Damn it. How much is fucking 8 ounces?
Sorry, sucker.
That was terrible.
Yeah, you did a terrible job. I mean, I was marginally less terrible.
I guess the penalty is I have to eat this 4 ounces of flour.
All right, now we're gonna do water. 8 ounces of water in a bowl. So you're not using it. We're gonna check out who can get closest using the Raiders of the Lost Ark system to see who can get closest to 8 ounces of water. And again, for those that are saying hypocrite, you're not using the metric system. I'm not fucking changing that setting on the scale.
All right, I'm gonna go first.
Dude, all right. You think that's 8 ounces?
Shit.
Bro.
So, Chris, what did you put in?
13.3 ounces.
8 fluid ounces.
Oh, shit. Well played. Well played. Show it. Wait, can you get it on the camera?
We have to announce it for our listeners.
I know, but can you get it on camera here? That is. Why did it go up 0.1? That's 7.9 ounces. Well
I
played.
was literally, I should have, if I did pour out that, I poured out a little bit just to make them feel better. That's what you get, trying to give people consolation trophies.
I don't feel better.
We gotta cut 3 ounces of apple.
3 ounces of apple.
3 ounces of apple. No sticker. I don't know, you tell us, how many ounces should we get? You can do decimals too. I don't give a shit. Get a fucking supercomputer up here. Give it to us. How many ounces?
3.6.
3.6. No. No.
3.6. We were just measuring 8.
$3.6, huh? What do you got? You good?
Yeah.
Ah!
3.6.
Yeah.
That's 0.7.
Oh.
3.6.
I ain't gonna lie. I thought this was.
You thought that was 3.6? You totally thought that was 3.6.
So let me.
I'm so glad you copped to that. You thought that was 3.6. We're going to get better at this game, hopefully.
So I thought I must have a malfunction in the supercomputer. That was about 3.6.
That was wild.
For our listeners, and it was.
His
7.
0.7.
0.7 ounces. 7 ounce. No, yeah. No, point. It was, yeah. 70% of.
10 ounces.
Yeah. Well, you heard it here, folks. It's a tie, 1-1. Is it a tie?
No.
I won.
You went 2-1.
Oh, fuck. We don't have to go overtime.
Unreal.
Later, sucker.
That 7.9 was very nice. The 0.7, not so much.
0.7, very bad. Anyway, I feel like we got something with this fucking game. I don't remember why we're using apples.
'Tis the season.
Producer Young Dave said, I have to cook apples. And I said, sure. And here I am. So before we aired, I just peeled some of these haphazardly, not perfect, because it doesn't matter, and I peeled it with just paring knife like such. And these are Gala apples. And there are all kinds of apples. I bet you there's probably over 10,000 varieties of apples. You want to quote me on that?
I'm going to quote you right now.
I'm going to say over 10,000 varieties of apples in the world, at least 10,000.
The internet says just over 7,500.
Quite a bit. I mean, you know that these are from the farmer's market because they have insect holes in them, so they're not sprayed with pesticides. That's fine. What do I know about apples? Very, very selective things. Besides not knowing all the varieties, here's what I do know. Some apples are better for certain things. The apples that you probably grew up with at the grocery store, or the kind of apple you go to the airport and it's wrapped in plastic, that's a red delicious, and those are usually mealy, and I don't know, they're like nobody's favorite. I think they're designed for shelf stability almost, less than delicious. And Granny Smith is what everyone knows, but people say that Granny Smith has become progressively less delicious as well, and they have the acidity. People like baking with them a lot. There are apples that are really good for just like eating raw. There's apples that are designed for, say, I like in salads. Like Fuji apples, I think, are really good in salads. Macintosh apples are really good in salads. When we opened up Sambar, Tinho had the great idea of doing like a couple apple salads, and we worked on that, and we'd slice them to order. We'd put some lychee, some bacon fat, and it was just a fresh way of using like market produce in the winter or like the fall when nothing's really available at the New York City Farmers Market. And we would do kimchi apples with labneh. And I didn't even know what labneh was, but Tinho was he was one of the sous chefs for Grey Kuntz when he had the Time Warner Center, and we had worked together at Cafe Balud, and Gray just had this whole arsenal of ingredients that a lot of chefs today still work with. The late great Floyd Cardoz was the chef de cuisine, and he was later of Tabla, and he was in an Ugly Delicious episode, and he passed in the sort of the first weeks of COVID. And Floyd, being from Goa, India, just knew so much about spices and different flavors that, Gray sort of incorporated that, was open to it. I'm digressing greatly here, but we flavored it with maple syrup, and I got some jowl bacon, and we just sort of, produced this dish that was delicious. And I'm not going to make that for you right now. So you core apples like such, and you'd make a kimchi sauce, like puree, so garlic, ginger, sewujot, or like fish sauce or salted krill, gochugaru, chili pepper, soy sauce, sugar, mix it up, and you'd almost use that like a kochori, so like a fresh kimchi, and you'd mix in the apples. And it was a crazy dish, and I'll never forget that. And I was just so happy. It was a dish that was, so many pieces, and we're able to put it together at Sambar. But I never would have thought about labneh if it wasn't for tin. And we put some arugula on there. It was just a nice, vibrant salad, and both of those were great. And I was really proud that we could showcase apples in a different way than most places would probably just showcase it as a dessert. And I would say, besides it being just a fantastic snack, my mother would just peel apples all day. In fact, that's what drew my late dad to marry my mom, was the fact that he saw her at a picnic in Korea, and she peeled the apple so perfectly. He's like, I have to marry her. That's, again, a crazy fucking story, but that's true. And, in a Korean household, Asian, we just ate so many apples peeled and quartered, never cooked. The only apple I ever had was a McDonald's apple pie, which was fantastic, and it was such a monumental thing for me because of McDonald's, that Christina Tosi later on the opening menu of Co did her version of the McDonald's apple pie, which was the biggest pain in the ass to make, but so fucking good. But I would say most people would probably assume that apples are best for baked and sweet items. Apple a day keeps the doctor away type of shit as a snack. There are not that many options for apples in savory. You just don't see it. It's traditionally maybe paired with like pork chops. You might also see it just sort of in a salad, like an autumn harvest salad, which is also great. But maybe later this month we'll make the kimchi apple salad, and we'll make the, because I haven't made those in so long, the sliced apple salad with lychee vinaigrette. And we put culantro stems in there, which is like a more mild version of cilantro. Anyway, I'm straying from the topic here because I guess I don't really want to showcase my lazy ass baking skills, but I would say most people would just eat it baked, then it's raw, and I think the least amount of how apples are used are in savory items. And I have to say, that is one of the probably like secret weapons in how I've developed flavors and how I've learned to cook. If you ever talk to Christina Tosi or we're together and we're talking about sort of culinary techniques and building flavors, she'll always say that I use sweet. And I think that was one of the bonds that sort of drew us together, is like I love using sweet in savory foods. And you know, you have 5 things you can taste on your palate: salty, sweet, sour, bitter, umami. There's the 5 things. I think the things that are underrated are bitter, and I think sweet in relation to sort of the whole things that you can taste on your palate is underrated when you're balancing it with salty and sweet. Clearly, you see that with cookies, and it has been sort of all the rage, salty, sweet. But in savory foods, where you're not trying to see salty, sweet, right? It's not sweet and sour pork. The name isn't in the dish. Where you're not thinking about it, I think is underrated. And I think one of the things I've always loved was adding apples to our food. And a lot of our food over the years is very heavy in glutamic acid, AKA harnessing, you know, natural glutamic acid, natural umami things. Or adding soy sauce. This is also natural, or miso, or gochujang, or things that have developed salty umami takes. And when that was all sort of coming to fruition, every step of the way, I didn't understand why when I added pears or apples, because my mother would make her kalbijim marinade, which is the same marinade now that we have at Super Peach and all our restaurants at Major Domo. She would always add fresh pears. If she couldn't get fresh Asian pears, she would use apples. And she would basically, I'll make some version of that today. And I always thought it was just for the sweetness. The sweetness from the apples would work. Sometimes you could use pear juice, sometimes you could use apple juice, but you could never sort of recreate the sweetness you would get when making like a Korean marinade without actually using apples or pears. And to me, pears were, using Asian pears it can be expensive, and sometimes they're not nearly as sweet as you want. So my mother would almost always, not always, but like more often than not, use varieties of apples in her cooking. This is a long way of me basically getting to, again, it's been like the secret ingredient. And I had to think about this because producer Young Dave was like, hey, we're gonna use apples. And I was like, oh, fuck, I don't want to do apples. But then I realized maybe he's onto something, because it is really, and it was like, holy shit, it's sort of an epiphany that I never realized, that apples might be the secret ingredient to 20 years of momofuku. And let me explain. Right around late 2004, when we didn't go out of business and we're just sort of chugging along and we're gaining recognition and we're now putting a lot of different dishes on. This is before Sambar opened up. The great Harold McGee of On Food and Cooking came in to eat, and there's 2 things I asked him. And he was really good friends with Wiley Dufresne. Shout out Wiley. Like, Wiley was instrumental in sort of our sort of first couple years. 2 things. One is, why does smoke temper the flavors of like spicy heat? Because we had this really spicy tripe dish, and we added smoked gelée to it from the gelée from the chicken that we were cooking. Anyway, we found that when you added smokiness to heat, it sort of tempered it, and we couldn't figure it out. And we asked him, and at that time, again, this is another digression. We didn't really know that fat was flavor. It sounds crazy, but we just didn't know. And Harold worked on it, and he found that the fat receptor on your palate sort of got covered with the smoky receptor. And long story cut short, is a nice pairing, which is why heat and smoke go really well together. The other thing that I asked him, why are apples and pears so fucking good with soy sauce? And he knew instantly. And I didn't know anything. I knew nothing about science at the time. This is before I took any, tutoring on microbiology, before doing all the food and science shit we did at Harvard, et cetera, before the lab, before, anything fermentation oriented. I literally knew nothing. I cheated my way through fucking all science classes. And he talked about malic acid. I was like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Malic acid. He's like, he theorized, his hypothesis, and later he confirmed it, was, malic acid is a nice pairing to the glutamic acid found in soy sauce and a lot of Asian foods. And long story cut short, it's like the acid that is in almost all foods, this thing called malic acid, is not glutamic acid, right? Glutamic acid, non-essential amino acid that your brain needs to fucking work, but if you taste it, it tastes savory, it tastes delicious. That's how we get things like MSG. So, but the thing of malic acid, which the apple has a lot in, besides pectin and sugar, it has a high dose of, per apple, malic acid. And what malic acid does, in conjunction with, the presence of glutamic acid, it's like how should I say? Like a telescope. It sort of focuses the flavors of glutamic acid, that savory, salty, beautiful flavor that people love across the world, and it sort of like raises it. So it accentuates it. It lowers the pH, raises the sweetness and acidity at the same time. All kinds of crazy shit happens. But there was an actual reason as to why malic acid was so good with soy sauce. And I never knew all along that my mom and basically, so much of Asian cooking, particularly cream cooking, using apples and fruit juices and things that were high in malic acid really worked well with marinades that were soy sauce oriented. So that was a long way of me saying, I'm gonna try to make you a marinade right now, but not now. I gotta figure out what else I'm gonna do because producer David has no idea what the fuck I'm gonna make. I just told him, I'll make something I saw on TikTok, some cake that's called, I don't know.
Invisible apple cake.
Invisible, because the apples disappear in cooking. I'm sure there's a more appropriate name, but I'm gonna do that because it looked really easy. Secondly, I was like, well, I haven't made tart tatin in a long time, and I think that tart tatin looks more complicated than it actually is, but it's a fucking banger of a dish, and it's something that everyone should be able to make. I really believe that. It is super easy, but it can be intimidating because you're making a caramel. And we're gonna do that, but I don't have puff pastry, so I'm gonna just make I'm not even sure if it's gonna be a pâté brisé, but I'm gonna just make some kind of dough and we'll see what happens, which is why I have this small guy right here. And that's gonna be it. So it's like 3 things. I brought this pressure cooker up because I don't know. We had some beef trim. I don't know if I was gonna braise it, but I just found some frozen pork, like thinly sliced shabu shabu pork. So maybe we'll just make the marinade and we'll stir fry that, and almost like a soy kalbi marinade. We're gonna make a invisible apple cake, and we're gonna make tart tatin. It's important to note, I'm not gonna use any measuring, 0. I've never made this invisible cake. I have no idea. There's some ingredients here. I knew that there's probably egg. I knew there's probably milk. I knew there's probably baking powder as a leavening agent. So you're basically just making like a very thin cake batter. That's what I would imagine. You're gonna slice a bunch of fucking apples, put it together, bake the shit out of it, and I think that's it. And the tart tatin. So I guess I'll start on this invisible thing. So I put lemon juice, like 1 lemon in this water. You're doing that so it stops the oxidization. Should I do it this way? I don't even know how to do this. Just gonna take the core out. I'm realizing that I probably have to core it out because I need larger shapes for this cake. You know, I bet you could probably do this with the skins on too. If I had to do it all over again. I might just peel it on a mandolin going this way, which is honestly what I should have done. We'll see. To this day, I hate apple skins.
Do you feel the same way about pears?
About pears? I love pears.
But do you like pear skin?
No, you know what? On Asian pear, you got to peel, but
Yeah.
on regular other pears, I think it's fine. Because if you peel it, you're going to lose too much pear anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Shout out to all the pear.
So let's make a batter for the legs. And whisk, 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 whisk. I'm assuming there's milk, because there's milk here. I don't know, maybe a cup and a half of milk. I'm gonna put some salt. Some vanilla extract. I don't know, some cinnamon, why not? Put a little baking powder for leavening. A shit ton of sugar. Some flour. This is a continuation of my refusal to measure anything baking oriented.
I mean, you made a vow.
I did. I really did. Needs more flour. So far I've added baking powder, a little bit of cinnamon, salt, sugar. I don't know, like, looks like half a cup, maybe a cup and a half of milk, 2 eggs, dash of vanilla syrup, extract, maybe now a cup of flour. And now I'm just trying to add this so it has the right viscosity, so it looks like a loose batter. God damn it. All right, I'm gonna put some butter in when I slice these apples. I think I should have just sliced them like this. And when you get to the core, you just turn it around.
On the mandolin, that makes sense.
So, you know, probably makes more sense to do it this way. And you can feel, again, be very careful when using this. You can feel when you get to the core, it just is a little bit rougher. And once you sort of, like I just hit that resistance, stop, and you move. So when I'm using this, I have a firm base right here. Or you want it angled this way. I think it's unfortunate the only way to learn how to do this is to cut the shit out of yourself. I've never met a single cook that's never not cooked the shit out of themselves on this. The other injury is black steel pans. It says you work in the fish station, poissonnier, and you might have like 10 of these stacked up. And you might have 5 in front of you on a flat top. And you're keeping them hot because you just don't have time to let it heat up. So they're already hot. And when you're really busy, you put oil in here or some kind of fat. And they're all glistening already. You might forget and you can't see it because it's like black ice. And you just pull it up, you just pull it this way. And the oil will do a tidal wave onto your arm.
Ooh.
That is just, unfortunately, Happens all the time. And the reason you're cutting yourself too is I'm taking my time, even though this is being videotaped, right? I'm taking time because I don't want to hurt myself. But in the kitchen, everything's moving as fast as humanly possible. I think it's a little bit too thick. I don't know, I've never made this before, but I'm assuming it seems a little too pancake battery. I don't even know if you're supposed to use parchment paper. No recollection, but why not? We'll see. I mean, it tastes good raw. I'm gonna put this at 350 because I'm assuming like everything's cooked at 350. All right, next thing, I'm gonna try to make a tart tatin. And do the same, no measure. So what, this is 8 tablespoons. So the last one was 8 tablespoons of butter. Traditionally, this is made with, like, tart tatin is made with like, usually not, it's usually made with puff pastry. But it's usually like the odds and ends that you stick back together. Surprised I remember that from cooking school. Butter, flour. I mean, I have a small pan, so I'm gonna make more than I need. Salt. I'm gonna add some sugar. Some ice water. And this is a Thermomix, but if you have a KitchenAid, I'm sure that'll work too. All right, let's go in my tart shell. So, yeah, I said this is not puff pastry, so I still folded it like a book because I wanted to get some layers, but not like so much. Almost like I'm making a biscuit. All right. I'm gonna put this in the freezer. I think as a younger cook, I didn't appreciate the subtlety, nuance, and the precision of being a pastry cook. I certainly do now. And that's not the reason why I'm not taking any measurements, just because I'm fucking lazy. Just docking this. And I'm gonna press it in to the crevices. Again, this is usually made with puff pastry. I've never made this with, I guess it's a pâte brisée. Pop this in to the invisible, whatever the fuck it's called. Okay. 2 dishes down. I'm gonna work on this apple. I mean, basically a marinade we make at our restaurants all the time, some version of it. It's not exactly it, but just to show you how you can integrate apples in a way that, I use all the fucking apples. Do we have any apples from next door?
Yeah, let me go grab some.
So our production office for Dinner Time Live is next door, and there's like 100 people in there working on Dinner Time Live. We're in Studio 2. And I was saying, as I used up the last of the apples to make a dish we weren't even supposed to make, I was talking shit about their fucking apples. And that's karma, because now I need one of their shitty fucking apples to show you how to make a simple marinade and why it works. I'm not gonna peel these. Oh, that looks like crap. Not gonna use that one. See? Little ginger. I usually don't even add ginger, but it's there, so I'm putting it in. Ginger and apple works really well. Some garlic. One onion. I'm gonna add some sugar. All right, I'm gonna put a little onion. So far I put, I don't know, quarter cup of soy, knob of ginger, knob of garlic, or like 4 cloves of garlic, 1 onion, one apple, and some like scraps of apple, and a little wedge of white onion. I'm gonna slice in some onions. I'm gonna chop this into like inch and a quarter slices, some scallions. And I was looking for any chunks of meat that I could sort of maybe pressure cook to braise. And we have this Wagyu. I'm like, it was just that amount of meat, a lot of fat, but not really, even I don't want to cook that. And then I have no idea why we have this, but we have shabu shabu style pork belly. Shabu shabu being the Japanese way of dipping your proteins in water. And this is pork belly. Basically bacon. That's an uncured. This works great with beef, hanger steak, flank steak, thinly sliced ribeye. I don't care if it's breaking into pieces because you're not going to be able to distinguish this like a prime cut anyway. I mean, the one thing about sesame oil is this is not the virgin. Virgin is the first pressed, and that is probably my favorite oil to cook it. It has an extremely high smoke point. And historically speaking, at least in Japan, you go to the top, Michelin rated, like a 3 Michelin rated tempura place where, again, it's so exquisite and so ethereal that you don't even think you're eating anything fried. The vat of oil, basically a wok, like a bronze wok. Everything's fried in sesame oil, first pressed sesame oil. And historically speaking, I think this is like the beautiful thing about how Japan works, right? This sort of craft that gets passed down and part of the sort of everything gets used. You would fry, you'd use the oil, some of the best chefs just use it once. But it's so expensive that you recycle it by selling it to other restaurants. And by the end, you would sell it to a restaurant that would just deep fry it in things that would be sort of still delicious, but doesn't have to be pure and pristine as like a highly rated tempura spot. But what you don't get is that, while that might get dirty and I'm not going to break down the science, that's not toasted. And this, when you toast the sesame seeds, it gets something that's so pungent and so flavorful that a little bit goes a long way. And I feel like one of the big mistakes, maybe I think I still use too much sesame oil as a flavor, but again, I say I'm desensitized. Like, I think my kids are desensitized to sesame oil. They just pour this on rice, butter, and soy sauce, and they'll just eat the shit out of that. I did growing up. I think Koreans love sesame oil. They fucking love it. It's on the kim, the seaweed. It's what separates our kimbap from maki rolls. Japanese use vinegar and sugar in their rice. What really makes ours not sushi is because our rice is just seasoned with the sesame oil. Sesame oil is just in everything Korean. And I think over time I lose the ability to sort of taste it in the way that, say, young David might taste it, right? It's more pronounced. So I always have to remind myself to be very judicious with using it because a little goes a long way. But there are times where a little doesn't do anything. And a lot of that might actually be the freshness of the sesame seed oil that's roasted and toasted. So yeah, anyway, this you could marinate overnight, a few days. You can make the same marinade with just, say, sugar or agave. Pineapple juice really works well too. I feel like some of the top kalbi chips, the Korean barbecue spots in Korea, a lot of them I feel like use pineapple juice. There's also enzymes that make it a natural tenderizer to proteins, like denatures the protein, so it's a little bit more toothsome, less toothsome, I mean. Anyway, it doesn't mean, like, you can make this without apples, you can make this without fruit. It's going to still taste really delicious, but, you know, when you're making a dish for a restaurant, you want people to leave with something that they did not experience. Like, it's a subtle thing. I think there's too much umami in food right now anyway, even at the highest end restaurants. I don't think of it as a crutch, but there's no more, it's hard to taste things in silence, right? Everything has so much noise and so much going on. And listen, I am the biggest hypocrite because I've been the biggest advocate for some of that shit too, but I think it's harder to just taste something and sort of taste it in silence. Not that you're being silent, but it's something that is just a little bit more pure, a little bit less Spinal Tap 11, just like a 7, you know? And I think we're all guilty of it. A lot of people I know, including myself, of just too much umami. I'm cooking this in olive oil. I have no problem cooking olive oil extra virgin in almost anything I do these days because I can't taste it because there's so much shit going on in the flavors. Again, a lot of umami, you got salt, sweet, sour, bitter, and you have the malic acid that you may not even notice it, but I do, where it's just like everything is just a little bit more enhanced in terms of the glutamic acid notes. Fuck it. I'm just gonna crowd the pan because I don't want to like have a little bit that we're not cooking.
You know what you've talked about with tasting and getting used to these flavors and umami and all of these different things, actually, it directly ties to our Ask Dave for today.
Okay, let's do an Ask Dave.
So we got an Ask Dave from Aaron from Ann Arbor who provided no other stats, which is usually a disqualification. But I thought this question would be interesting, and based on what we've talked about, it is.
All right, Aaron, no stats, too cool.
So Aaron does
Should
not.
we even be answering this fucking guy's question?
See, I felt like no, but I thought the question was going to be of use to other people. So just because Aaron didn't include stats.
You know what? Aaron from Ann Arbor, do we know anything about him?
We know he's from Ann Arbor.
All right. I'm going to just do a mentalist.
Oh yeah, tell us about Aaron.
Aaron.
Yeah.
From Ann Arbor. Aaron clearly loves the Wolverines. Nonstop. He probably doesn't say he loves Zingermans because it's not as cool to tell everybody he loves Zingermans, but privately he loves Zingermans. And like all of their sort of scenarios of different versions of Zingermans. But honestly, I've never been to Ann Arbor. No idea. But a lot of my friends, a couple people I've dated, are graduates of University of Michigan, great school. Probably a cook. I think a cook. Probably a cook. His most favorite restaurant is... His most favorite restaurant is, let's just say, Single Thread in Healdsburg. And because he went there on like a work conference trip to wine country. And the restaurant he wants to eat at is Echebari, Asador Echebari. And he's a major domo level. He thinks he's a major domo level 10, but he doesn't want to get shit. But in reality, he is he's probably a 5.2.
It's funny, I don't want to dox Aaron, but I think based on last name and stuff, we found out he is not those things.
Okay, moving on. What's the question?
Well, so Aaron says that he doesn't really get pepper, which is funny.
He doesn't get what?
He doesn't get pepper. He just
Okay.
thinks it's riding salt's coattails and that salt is really fundamental. But Aaron's question is, he's open to being wrong about this. When people are discussing seasoning, are they talking mostly about salt or
Yes.
salt and pepper? Or is it everything altogether when like Tom Colicchio on Top Shelf is like, this is perfectly seasoned? Is he just saying the salt level's right?
Aaron, that's a good question. I think I always often have to clarify if I'm talking about salting. But I feel like a lot of chefs in a kitchen will probably mean salt when it comes to seasoning, because they still are talking about other things. But when you're tasting dish and you're at the pass and there's like maybe 60 things on the menu, you know exactly sort of what you're going for, right? Each dish in your mind has a nice balance of certain things, of acidity, crunch, texture, all these things. But like if I'm having like I work for Tom Colicchio, so let's just say he comes down and he tastes the beet salad, right? We sold so many fucking beet salads. He might taste a component and it's fine. But when you taste the whole thing together, and that's another thing, is like sometimes tasting the components of a dish tastes fine, but when you put it all together and proper temperature, et cetera, that it starts to maybe change on you. And I think the one thing you're looking for when you're talking about seasoning is like 90% of that is salt. I do think 90% of it is salt, but you're also talking about acidity. So that could be like, hey, the seasoning's off, add some more, add a squeeze of lemon, add another, little bit of black pepper, maybe add some Espelette pepper, whatever. And that's different from the spice, but in my opinion, most of the time people talk about seasoning, 90% salt. But that can also be in the same thing, hey, check the seasoning on that. That usually means it's under-seasoned or it's over-seasoned. And you see, I just did it right now. It means over-salted. But it's code word for check everything anyway. That's how I've always interpreted it. But I would say most of the time people are talking about salt in a dish. I have a lot of theories about salt in a dish, but when it comes to pepper, I agree and I disagree. The great Alex Stupak, who was recently on this pod, I remember having drinks with him once, and he was just going on a diatribe against black pepper. And at first I thought, wow, Alex, always angry. This time he's very fucking angry. Because I didn't know if I had never questioned black pepper. I think for me, black pepper, I started professionally, was not the McCormick's in the tin. Cooking school, you get a pepper mill, and pepper mills are a thing, and fresh ground pepper tastes different. That was like the extent of it. But when you start to think about it, and then the addition of white pepper, because in the French cuisine, like white pepper is used on shellfish, fish, things like pomme puree, and the black pepper, it all comes from the same pepper. It's just green peppercorn, white peppercorn, like they're just different stages and shells of the same peppercorn, but all have different notes and different tastes. And I remember thinking about that a lot because I was like, oh, Alex isn't wrong. It wasn't that he was saying black pepper is terrible, and next time Alex is on, we'll talk about this. I think it would be a good topic. Alex was saying, why does it become the default setting that every dish has salt and pepper? Salt, yes, but why does every dish need to have black pepper? Again, he wasn't saying that black pepper sucks. No, I think black pepper is probably the most important seasoning in the world. It's why I often think that India literally is one cuisine as we know it, because black pepper is so omnipresent in cuisine across all cultures that it originated in India, Southeast Asia, and nowhere else. So I think black pepper is extremely important. But the idea that black pepper is and should be without question, without ever questioning that a dish should always have black pepper, I agree with. And for example, you know, like I remember Tom in the same book, when his Top Chef or his first cookbook, Think Like a Chef, you know, the notion of cooking a steak. Tom loves cooking his in a pan and pan roasting it over a little bit over medium-high heat because you have more control. You maybe lose a little bit out of the traditional steakhouse crust, but what you gain is nuance and more depth, in my opinion, more control. But that was going against the grain, like, because at the time the prevailing wisdom was cook it as fucking hard as fast as possible, charbroiled. And it was nice that Tom said, no. That's not how you cook a steak. And I think that what Alex was saying, and maybe what Aaron is saying, is that black pepper shouldn't have to be in everything. So that I agree with. And maybe that you should think about it. Like, if you stop and think about every dish that you've ever had that has black pepper, you should ask, like, do I really need it, or am I just doing it at a default? And that's an interesting question. Certain dishes scream for black pepper. I think beef, I think most proteins need it. Like, I haven't had any beef to this pepper. I mean, I haven't had any black pepper to this. But black pepper and this marinade go magically together, partly because of this, what you taste in your palate, salty, sweet, sour, bitter. But a lot of that heat, to me, sort of is on that, not just the spicy note, but on the bitterness angle. And that starts to sort of all meld and make a dish so nice. And I think the difference is maybe people aren't using really good black pepper. And I never had great black pepper until I went to India, and we filmed Ugly Delicious there, and it was one of the most important flavors of my life. When we went to, you know, we're in Kerala and we're tasting, you know, we're at like one of the premier locations of how they harvest black peppercorns. And I remember tasting it, it's on camera, and my mind exploded because it was like an everlasting gobstopper. I'd never tasted anything that nuanced and evolved over or like 10 minutes. Like, it was 10 minutes of just like a palate acid trip. That's sort of what it felt like. Like my palate did ayahuasca. That's sort of what it felt like. And I just didn't know what the fuck was happening. Because there was hints of sweetness, really. But the spice, different levels of spice, fruitiness. And it just kept on changing and lingering. And in that moment, I realized, like, oh, this is why it's the most important ingredient outside of maybe oil in the fucking world's history. Because imagine if you are a European person or someone from England, and no offense, but pre-fucking invention of food from India and spices from India and chilies from the Americas and Mexico and the potatoes from South America. It's like, European food fucking must have sucked. It was like a lot of shitty mutton and stuff like that. No spice. Think about that. Maybe there were herbs and things like thyme and rosemary and anise flavored things like tarragon and chervil. But there was no spice for millennia. I mean, it must have been fucking hell. But you wouldn't know it's hell because you don't know what you don't know. And I've always thought about who was the first fucking white person from like England or somebody from Europe that is in India and they're trading and they taste a black peppercorn. Somebody from Europe tasted black peppercorn for the first time. They had no knowledge of it. And that's what I mean. It must have been like an ayahuasca trip for them, because what frame of reference did they have? I really have thought about it a lot, because it just sort of boggles my mind to taste something without any knowledge. You know, it's like seeing some kind of great movie without, not even movie. It's like I have no frame of reference, and I try to think about what this one person that was introduced to black pepper must have thought, because now everything was black and white, and now everything is in fucking Technicolor. And a lot of terrible shit happened out of it. But out of that, which is why I tend to think that India won sort of the global food game simply because of black pepper. So at this point, I'm cooking it down because I'm trying to get some caramelization. The water from the apple and the water that's in the soy sauce is evaporating. The water that's in the onions and the pork, and you know, this is going to have a little bit more water. I mean, you were pissing out simply because it's frozen and the cell structure changed. So now, again, it's the same reason why you want to freeze a vegetable when you're making gazpacho. You're just going to get more release of H2O. So I'm now going to cook this. This is at medium-high heat. This is like a 6.5 out of 10 on this, because there's so much sugar in this. Not just from the apple juice, but I did add sugar, and there's sugar in the onions, and there's sugar in. There's just natural sugars too. That if it's too high, I'm going to burn everything before things reduce, and that's not what I want. So you want it just high enough where if things are going to reduce, and you want to move it around so you can develop color on it as well. This is done. But you'll see in a second. And I'm not going to touch it. And this needs a bowl of rice, and then you're done. The other thing is, this cuisine, or how I grew up eating, everything's with a bowl of rice. Everything. So a lot of times when someone might taste this without it, or they didn't grow up eating this way, they'll taste it and they'll be like, oh, this is too salty. This is too seasoned. And the reality is, it is. That is true. But when you eat it with rice, that rice now changes the balance on your palate, and that's why you want things to be a little bit over-seasoned. And when I'm saying over-seasoned, it's not just salt, it's a little bit of everything, because you're now trying to compensate for a new element, which is the rice. Okay, I'm going to turn this off, and you can see now we're getting that caramelization I wanted. This is something, I'm glad that I cooked, because I don't know if my desserts are coming out well at all. It's a problem. I'm not gonna lie, it's extremely delicious. I mean, this is delicious because I'm just eating it.
I don't understand how the balance comes out so perfect. Like the sweetness it's there, but it's not overpowering. Like it really is, yeah. And it's so good.
It's like really good. Mm-hmm. All right, let's see if I fucked up the cake. This is cooking that I this is like just how, I grew up cooking, or grew up eating. All right. Okay, now what? Can't really slice this so it's fucking hot. Try this, dude.
What did you do? It's that like, just, I feel so like joyful and at home.
Right?
Just like, I hate saying this every time. You do this thing when you like eat, when you like something, your eyes get big. I feel it in my nipples.
Oh my god! It's
just like
we're
makes
talking
me
about
feel
seasoning, and I was like, oh, this is like everything's like battling with each other, but it works out.
But you also said make sure you have some rice, which is like the whole thing.
Yeah, but like people don't know that.
Rice is so boring.
You gotta eat it with rice.
Or like this is like the key example of like why rice is delicious. God damn. This is TikTok cake?
Yeah.
Whew. Delightful.
Maybe stay in the. I'm sure you're supposed to. Oh, no. We may slice this in tomorrow.
Don't rush it. Don't rush it. This is classic Chang, too.
Also got a tart tatin in it.
Oh, we went tart tatin, too.
No. See how this fucker turns out. Not bad. I should have made more caramel. Come on, Christopher. Is there any ice cream? All right, dig in, chef. Hey, 3 for 3 for things that I've never fucking made before. Hot. Hey, not using puff pastry actually is pretty good.
Is that your pastry?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Hey, the proof is in the pudding. I measure shit.
Okay. I see you.
It's kind of great. Hey, it's
Nice
been
work.
literally over 20 years since I made it.
Nice work. Oh, I just burnt the hell out
I mean,
of
I got
that.
an F for presentation, but I don't give a fuck.
Nah, brown is an A.
Okay. All right, guys. We're going to do this backwards. I just made some dessert. Actually turned out pretty fucking good. This is in an episode of Apple. Aaron. Don't do what Aaron did and not give us any information. That's not acceptable. So we're making we're not mockery. We're just using you as an example. You will get fucking nothing from us. But please be kind and send us a real Ask Dave at Major Domo Media or DM us, and we will get back to you working on some really nice presents. We're going to keep on picking some winners, and join us on Discord at majordomomedia.com or majordomo.com. We got Dinner Time Live coming back. Yeah. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.